There is nothing worse than untapped potentials. If you know that you're made for more, this is the place. I know that every successful person I've ever met has one thing in common. They do not let themselves fall victim to their circumstances. They figure out a way to rise above it. So join me on this journey where I help you to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business. If you're feeling stuck and you're needing some practical tools, some hope to get you to that better life, this is definitely the place for you. Hey everybody, welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. And today I have a special guest with me, Natasha Je T'aime. I probably didn't say that as beautiful and elegant as you do because you have such a beautiful name. So I'll let you take over and give it all the glory that it deserves. But it is, you are just such a precious gift. And I am so grateful that you have been willing to share your story with all of us and to really give us the hope and the practical solutions that we can use to get unstuck. And so welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I've been listening to your podcast for a while and I'm super excited.
I am so excited too. I mean, gosh, for us to connect, and I believe it's a divine thing that people brought together. And so you guys, a little bit about Natasha. She's a mom and a wife and a business owner, and she has an incredible story of resilience. And Natasha, I would love for you to tell us first, though, before we get into that, like, where are you at today? Like, give us a snapshot of who you are today and how you're serving this planet.
Yeah, so I've definitely come a long way. I'm not quite where I'd like to be. I'm definitely still climbing my mountain, but I am a wife and a mom, and I also work in research is kind of my day job. But I also have a lot of fun with my network marketing job. That's kind of my goal. That's my passion in life. Everything that has to do with the company and the products, and it's just like I started it when the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I started doing it and I loved it. And so that's just kind of where I am today is I'm rocking that business and I love it.
That's amazing. And did you ever, I would love to just hear this. Did you think that this was something that you had plans for yourself to be a business owner, or was this something that kind of came out of the blue for you?
So technically, I've been trying for a long time to be a business owner. Okay. So I had first started out working as a vet tech.
Okay.
And I left that job and ended up doing direct sales. I did business-to-business marketing out in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
And so our summers are 115 degrees. And I was outside walking door to door, business to business. And I was that person coming in like, hey, how's it going? I'm doing a promo for this company. And do you want to buy some tickets? And so I tried doing that. I tried doing events. So I'd call up, I do cold calls to businesses, and I try to get them to set up an event for their employees. And that was fun, but situations kind of took me out of that. After that, I did some brand ambassador work, which was a lot of fun. So that was kind of the start of me discovering that I wanted this kind of lifestyle. Yeah. So then my mom ended up purchasing a cafe, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. I have to do this with you. So I moved to where she was, and we worked her cafe together. And she was the cook and I was the waitress, and we just did everything together. It was just her and I, and it was an absolute blast. And then that kind of fell through. So then I got back up and I got together with my husband, and he's a truck driver, and him and I started a business. We started a trucking company, and just a few months after that, COVID hit and it took that away. So then I'm like, okay, where else am I going to go? So then I found network marketing again. And I was like, well, just keep going. Just keep going with your journey.
That's the thing about you, though, is that you are resilient. And I think that you had something inside of you that this is just who you are. And I think sometimes people okay, I'm going to say that myself. Like, if I think back, I've always been somebody who can find opportunities to make money in things. And I will dabble in different things because I see it everywhere. but I never gave myself that permission to wear that hat per se, that I was an entrepreneur. So I went to school, did all the things, and it's like, it just keeps drawing me back. And it's like, for you, it's like, you knew it, you owned it from a very young age. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had found out a long time ago that my grandpa was an entrepreneur, and I was like, what? Really? Tell me more about that.
Huh. That's awesome.
So I think that's kind of where the seed came in.
I love that. Okay, so now I would love to know a little bit more about you and your journey, because I know that you've told me that you've had to really overcome quite a bit, and I think that it's going to be really kind of cool for us to hear your story to understand how that resilience has been built over time.
Yeah. So, I had a pretty traumatic childhood. I'll start with that. My parents were both drug addicts and alcoholics, and my mom left when I was about 5 years old and left me with my dad. My mom went to California. She went to go live on the beach to go do her lifestyle, and left me with my dad, who was not really any better. I was sexually abused. I was physically abused. I remember being tossed across the house. I remember being held up against a wall by my neck. I woke up one morning and I saw my dad with my older brother, and he had him over the counter and was strangling him. And it was just that's where it came from. That's, it was a lot. My parents were always on something. And so going through that, and then my mom, thankfully, she got clean. Mm-hmm. And I was able to move in with her when I was 13. And it was better, but I had a pretty crummy stepdad, and I had a lot of negative talk towards me. Everybody was pretty sure that I was going to be another teen pregnancy statistic.
Yeah, right.
Every time I mentioned what I wanted to do in life, it was questioned. My first marriage, I told my husband that I wanted to be a hairstylist. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? Work at Supercuts? And I was like, I don't know, maybe. And I guess if that's where I want to work, like, I don't know. But yeah, I just, I've had a lot of people just thinking that I wasn't going to do a lot with my life, including my mom. I mean, she's wonderful. I love her. I'm so thankful that she came back to me. But when I had mentioned that I wanted to go to school, she's like, well, Tasha, are you going to finish? Are you sure you're going to finish that? I don't know that you should start that. And I was like, no, I'm totally going to finish. I'm definitely going to do it. And I did, and that was really exciting for me. And then I ended up purchasing my first vehicle all by myself, my own credit, no cosigner, nothing.
Awesome.
Drove it off the lot with 3 miles on it. I was so excited. And the first time my mom saw my car, she was like, that's your car? I was like, yeah. Yes. Don't you love it? Like, what? Is it the wrong car? I don't know. So yeah, I've definitely had to overcome a lot of negative comments towards me and just kind of try to brush it off. And, like, one of the things that kind of motivates me nowadays is to prove everybody wrong.
I love that. And I would love to I'm so inspired by people that have had to go through so much. And there are times, I'm going to be honest with you, where it's like, I can say that, okay, I had maybe a bully in 5th grade, or, this happened, but it's like, okay, Lachelle, like, sometimes I get, like, look at all of these other people, and I kind of get down on myself a little bit. And I think that we all have our stuff, but I think that, and everything that we go through is heavy at the time. But one of the things that I'm really, really just intrigued by and passionate about learning is how people are able to get through the things that they've gone through. And I don't know, Tasha, if I ever mentioned this to you or not, but one of the reasons that I started this podcast was because of my grandma. Have I ever told you that story?
You haven't, no.
And so my grandma was somebody that I looked up to. Like, she was amazing. She was so funny, and she was cheery, and she was positive, and she was all the things. And she had a really rough life. Both of her parents passed away when she was 10. She was sent to live with an aunt and uncle who were not very nice to her. They did not treat her well. They didn't let her go to school, made her be their kind of work person on the farm. Met my grandpa, got married, lost 2 children to early deaths, one in surgery, one got hit by a car. And so she's been through so much, but she was the most amazing person. And I never got a chance to ask her before she passed away, like, Grandma, how did you get through all of that? And so I think that it's really made me just dive into all of the wisdom that I have all around me that I don't want to miss my opportunity to learn and grow from, right? And so I would love to know more about your story. So you mentioned your first marriage. So you are married to your second husband right now?
I am, yes.
And I'm curious because this is something that I hear a lot, and I would love to know about this. So you have grown up with a lot of negative talk, which I'm going to guess had an impact on your self-worth.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that I have found is that oftentimes people that I've spoken to or people I've known that have gone through that end up being in a marriage where that behavior is repeated, very similar to what you just mentioned. But because of their lack of self-worth, they don't have enough courage to get out of that toxicity. Tell me how you were able to do that. I'm really would love to learn.
Well, I mean, I just relationship wise, I did not put up with being disrespected. I just didn't put up with it. Like, my mom would even tell my boyfriends, she's like, she goes through boyfriends like she goes through underwear. Like, don't plan on sticking around. And they'd ask me about that. I'm like, it's funny. Like, I'm okay with her saying that because, I mean, pretty much, like, I just don't tolerate stuff. I just don't tolerate you talking to me like this. I don't tolerate you, acting like this towards me. Like, I have standards, and if you don't meet those standards, then I'm sorry, but it's just not going to work out for me. Like, I've been through too much to continue to go through that in my adult life. Like, I need a better adult life than I had so that I can provide a better childhood for my children.
Right. And that's what this is about for so many people, including myself. Like, I want to be the best mom that I can so that I can make my kids have the best mom that they can. Right.
Yeah.
And
yes.
They make me step up and be a better person because I want to be able to model for them the best life that they can. And so I just love that. Okay. I want to dive into really just kind of how you were able to have those standards and how you were able to have that confidence, because you carry yourself in this way that like, yeah, I got this. And I love that. I love that so much because there's so many people who are struggling with feeling rejected or not having acceptance or people pleasing or lowering their standards or not letting themselves be their true selves and all of the things. And I would love for us to learn from you some of your tips that you've learned or you've taken on in your life that have helped you kind of be who you are today. So you guys, I'm going to ask Natasha all about that in just a second. I want to tell you guys all about this really cool thing that I'm putting together that is going to help you work smarter, not harder, build your dreams, but yet have the time to spend with the most important people in your life. So give me just a second. I'm going to tell you all about it. And then we're going to be right back here with Natasha. Hey, lachellewieme here, and I got to ask you, are you feeling like you're always on your freaking phone and you're trying to run your business, your family's complaining about you always being on your phone, you feel like you're winging it constantly, and all you want to do is have a strategy that lets you be 100% authentic and you are literally attracting the right people to you? Oh my goodness, that was me too. And I had to figure out a system that would make that work. And I totally nailed it. I have a program all designed to help you do that too, including a chance to spend the entire day with me so I can help you write copy that attracts people, and you will literally be done for an entire year. If that sounds like it's something that you need, we totally need to talk. Go ahead and click this link and let's get started. Okay, girl, let's keep going with this because I want to learn from you, right? Like confidence has been something that I've struggled with my whole life. And I feel like I am finally getting to a point where I'm just like, okay, like I got this, but it has been a journey. And so I'm inspired by you as a young woman to be able to be like, no, like I have my standards. Like I know what I want. So tell me a little bit about how you were able to muster that up within yourself, and how can you help us kind of get the same?
Well, honestly, I still go through those days. I still have my hard days, my negative self-talk. But I've done some therapy, right? I've gone to the psychiatrist, the psychologist, I've taken the medicine, and I had a period of my life where I drank heavily, and there just came a day that I was like, this is nonsense. This is ridiculous. This isn't getting me anywhere in life, So I stopped the medication. I started doing affirmations and working on, not having that negative self-talk. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I just woke up and I was like, that's enough. Like, honestly, I feel like, okay, there was a situation in which a guy that I was dating had just thoroughly upset me. Like, he was like, how can I possibly think about you when I'm doing this? Like, I'm 3 hours late. How dare you be mad at me for that and not like communicating with you? And I was like, that's it. And I got so mad that I kicked the door and I put a hole in the door, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't do that. I don't do that. That's not me. I don't know what just happened. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of like pent up anger that I had. And so like I noticed it. I realized it. I was like, wow, that really is a lot pent up inside of me. I'm like, I can't live like this. So I just started working with people. I started just finding the type of people that I wanted to be around. I found those people who inspired me to be the person that I wanted to be, and I kept those people around. So I have a very small group of friends that I keep, but very specifically found friends. Like, there's this one who's very dominant. She's very brave. She's my inspiration for that. I have another friend who's like my love bug friend, like I see her and I can hug her and it's just, it's all warm and fuzzies, right? Like and then I have my fun friend who like gets my jokes, and, we have the same kind of humor, and, I found my people that inspired me to be who I wanted to be, and in turn inspired them, because they get me because I'm awesome.
You are awesome. Oh my gosh, I love that. So I think that that's so powerful, because we have to find the circle of people that are going to allow us to be ourselves, imperfect and all, but also encouraging us to become the best versions of ourselves in a safe place. And I love that you found that, because that's hard for us to do sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And, the thing about being in network marketing, like it's hard. It's a lot of work, but honestly, you meet the best people. You meet the best people. There's so much support.
Yes. Oh my gosh. People don't realize that, do they? Like, that was where, I will be honest with you. Like, I've been blessed with some really amazing friends throughout my entire life, but I have been blown away by the caliber of people that I have met since I've gone on my entrepreneur journey, especially in network marketing, because it's like personal development with a paycheck.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so we all are growing alongside one another, and you find the people who are just pouring into you, pouring into themselves, and it creates this spark of wanting to become the best version of yourself. At least that's what happened to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my entrepreneur journey has been tough. It's been, a lot of, I'm going to do this. No, I'm not. I'm going to do this. No, I'm not. Like, but, when I think back on it, I'm like, I would do it again. I wouldn't change a thing. I would do it again because during those times that I struggled trying my hardest to chase after something that I wanted, just my personal development. I mean, I learned so much. I turned into this person that like I didn't realize I could become. Like, I feel like I know a thing or two.
So tell me about that. Like, I want you to just like brag on yourself just a moment and tell me about like the metamorphosis that you've made. Like before you started, and I didn't, know where this conversation was going to go. So this is so fun because I love talking about business. You know that. Yes. And so like when you started your journey in the business realm, kind of describe who you were and then now describe who you are now.
Okay. So, my vet tech journey, I was working in research. So I was taking care of research animals and I worked in a basement. And that's where I was. I worked in this dark basement in this, like field that people question. It's scary. Like they don't know. And I'm like, I need to educate, but I don't want to talk to people. And then when I left that job, like I left in a hurry. I was like, oh, I need to get out of here. And so I left, and that's when I went into the business to business marketing. And I was like, I need to be around people. I'm like, I could just spend my life in a dungeon around animals. Like, I love you guys, but man, I need people. And so I started talking to people, and I started, just learning how to read people. Right? Like I figured out personalities. I could tell as soon as I walked into a place, like what kind of personality I was going to deal with, and whether I should talk to that person or not.
Yeah.
I found out a lot about me and my resilience walking in 115-degree weather every single day for 5 hours a day. Like, and I did that 7 days a week, so I learned a lot about people. And how to talk to people. And I learned a lot about myself and, just how much stronger I am than I knew that I was.
That's what happened to me too. Like from the outside looking in, people probably never would have guessed that I was struggling with as much insecurity and lack of confidence that I was, because I compensated with like degrees and cute outfits and whatever. Right. But it wasn't until I got into the business world that I really transformed my confidence. And the reason I did that was that I was able to do small, scary things and realize that I wasn't going to die. Like I literally didn't spontaneously combust when somebody said no thanks. Right. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm still alive. Like I can do this. Right. And so all of a sudden I started putting myself directly in the line of rejection and surviving it. And then all of a sudden I started to open up my world. Like it's embarrassing to say, but if I invited somebody over and they couldn't come, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. Like they don't want to hang out with me. And now I'm just like, oh sister, you're probably just busy because everybody's busy. Like it's just a different way that I view myself. And I think that the reason I do that is that I've been able to take small little wins and things that scared me and prove to myself that I was able to do it. And it sounds like that's happened to you too. I mean, I can't imagine going door to door. Like that's amazing to me.
Yeah. I walked through one door and I got a no, and I went ahead and walked through another one.
How did you handle, how did you, cause that's hard for people. Sales is not for the faint of heart for sure. How did you, was that something that always just came really easy to you? Like, okay, no, all right, fine. Thanks for your time. And then you just went off to, or was that a process that you had to work through?
It was a process. It was a fake it till you make it. So, I just kept a light heart and a smile on my face. And, most of the time people were nice about saying no. There were some days that people were not so nice, and those days were a little harder than others, but I'd take a few deep breaths and I'd be like, okay, well, I can't go home. I got to keep going. just keep going. You can't stop. You can't hang out in this weather. So just keep going.
And this was your full time, like this was your income, right? Like you didn't have another
Yeah.
income at this time. And so I think that that's something that I find is hard for some people that do a side gig, is that they have this income at work, right? And so even though they might be miserable, maybe not, but maybe they are, and they do this side gig to give themselves options or more money or whatever. But then as soon as it gets hard, they're like, oh, maybe my job isn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. This one I had nothing to fall back on. So I just had to keep going. And there just wasn't anything that was going to stop me.
I've heard that a lot. And I think that I needed to hear that for myself, honestly, because I think that when we take the safety net away, we have to go all in. And when we go all in with things, that's when we discover what we're made of. And that's when we really start to shine. But if we are falling back on our comfort zone and the safety net and the things, we really cripple ourselves from showing up and becoming what we're meant to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said you do affirmations. Tell me about that. Like, what is your process?
I mean, I don't really have like a huge process. It's just basically just telling myself in the mornings that like, you're going to crush it today. Like there's abundance in this world. It flows to you. It flows to me, just, whatever it is that I want to achieve that day, I'm telling myself that that's happening. I try to manifest things as early in the morning as I can because, I mean, you got to start your day off right.
Absolutely. And do you find that you speak out loud? Is this in your side of your head? I mean, legit, like I love to know because it's working for you. So I want the audience to be able to get the details. Like, what does she do? How does she do it?
Well, it's a little embarrassing for me because I did grow up, being told that stuff like that was really dumb. And so I just, so I just say it in my head. Like, I know nobody's around me at this time. Like, it's 4:00 in the morning that I wake up that I'm doing this, but I still say it in my head because it's for me. Like, I don't need to say it out loud. It's not for anybody else. It's for me. This is what I do for myself. So I say it to myself.
I love it. And you declare the day and you're like, this is what my day is going to look like. You manifest for your day. I love that.
Yes.
Do you find that you listen to certain podcasts, certain books? Like, I would love to know more about the personal development that you are engulfing yourself in.
Yeah. So I was listening to like a lot of random podcasts, just random information. I don't remember what it was that I was listening to, but it was a lot of different information. Like they would just have a subject and I'm like, oh my God, I've never thought about that, but yeah, I totally need to know this. And then I started, doing the business academy that I'm doing. And so I looked into network marketing podcasts. And so I listened to your podcast and I listened to, the Gold Digger Girl and, I'm hooked on you guys. That's all I do all day. Like I work like, because I'm still working with animals right now. I just all day, all I do is clean and I have my headphones in and I'm either listening to you or I'm listening to her and I'm listening to every master class that is being offered. Like I'm soaking in all the content that I can get because girl, this is happening. Like I'm not giving up. I have declared to everybody and myself that I am going to make this work. This is going to happen because I told everybody that it was going to happen and they're all waiting for me to fail and I'm going to prove them all wrong. I am not going to fail.
I love that so much. And you and I, we've talked and, you've heard me say this before, but I think that it's really important that when you want to be successful, it starts with the first thing, which is desire, right? Like, that you want more for yourself, that there's something out there that you feel like you're being called for, that there's something that you're missing, but you have a desire for better, right? And then you made the decision. The second thing is decide. You made the decision. They're like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I'm not going to let anybody stop me. I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to learn what I need to learn. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to become the person. I'm going to manifest the person that I need to be to make that happen. And then you are in this third thing, which is do. You're doing the thing. You're showing up every day. You're putting things into action. And girlfriend, there's no stopping you.
No, there's not.
And you are, oh my gosh, like I have goosebumps because you are such an amazing role model for your kids. And when we can show them what it's like to dream, when we can show them what it's like to have resilience and perseverance and hard work, and we show them how our hard work can pay off, like that will change their life. The lessons that they learn from watching you will change their life more than you taking them to Target and let them pick out anything they want, right? Like
I do.
Comes down to.
I do try to intentionally have conversations with my kids. So like when they talk to me about what it is that they want to do when they grow up, my 5-year-old wants to be a mom. I love her. She's adorable. She wants to be a mommy. But my 7-year-old, she wants to be a hairstylist. And so I was like, oh, you should have your own salon. And she's like, no, I don't want to have my own salon. I was like, why not? She goes, because it's more work. It's too hard. I'm like, sweetie, but there's more potential. You can do more. You can make more money. And she's like, but it's more work. And I'm like, okay, how about this, sweetie? I was like, how about you and 5 of your friends are working at a salon? Okay. And you make $100 that day. So say you have to give half of that to the owner of the salon. So you make $50 and your friends make $50, but that owner has made $300. And she goes, oh, I was like, yeah, you could be that owner making $300, baby girl. And she's like, oh, I love it.
No, but that's so true. I think that what you said was really powerful just a second ago that I want to acknowledge that, and I'm guilty of this, right? We don't want our kids to have to go through what we went through. Mm-hmm. And I know that you're fighting tooth and nail to make sure that your children, right, have a better childhood than what you had.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And I don't want to give power to the trauma. But the trauma made you who you are. Yeah. And I think that sometimes when we don't allow our kids to fail, when we don't allow them to have to work for what they need, when we don't allow them to learn those lessons in the most impactful way, even if it pains us to watch that, we're robbing them of the things that are going to make them who they are, right? And I see that with one of my children. You know, I'm going to say if he ever listens to this someday, he'll be like, Mom, Jesus. But he's all about just trying to get the easiest way. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, what part do I play in this? Right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I just need to make you kind of work a little harder. Maybe I need to make it a little bit more difficult for you, because that's a skill. Resiliency, grit, perseverance, those are the things that are going to get you somewhere in life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my 7-year-old too. She just wants to do the easy way. And I'm like, no, you got to do all of it. Got to do all of it. You can't just have the end result. You got to do all of it. Yeah. Oh, but I'm too tired. I know, sweetie, but get up and do it.
I love that. And I think that every generation, because my mom and dad had it worse than I did, right? They had it, better than their parents did. And so I think that as technology, as our lifestyle gets to be easier, more convenient, we are missing out on some amazing skills and characteristics that I think we need, right? And so thank you for just like helping me acknowledge that and think about that, and it's going to help me be a better mom. And I really appreciate that, because sometimes we have to do what they need and not what we want, because it's easier than me having to listen to them whine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Lachelle, who is this for? Is it for you or them? And sometimes it can be for me. Sometimes I just can't handle it. There's no judgment there. But for real, though, like really just kind of having that balance in there. And I thank you. I thank you for your heart and your vulnerability. I thank you for your inspiration and your practical tools, the things that you personally do. I think we learned so much, girlfriend, we learned so much about learning from one another. More, I think, than reading in books and taking classes. Like, it's really just the conversations, the impactful conversations that we have with people that can teach us lessons just by listening to their story. And I want to thank you for sharing yours. And you probably know this is coming, but I'm going to, first of all, real quick, I'm going to ask you, is there anything that we haven't had a chance to talk about that you are dying to say that you really wanted to get out?
No, I think we covered all of it. I mean, I read through the questions that you kind of post to kind of so that I know kind of what I'm going to be talking about.
Yeah.
And I know that the very last one was kind of what do I want people to know?
Yeah.
And so my thing was like I really want to point out that everybody has choices. So like I came from a really crummy situation, but I chose not to be in that situation. Like, and I tell everybody all the time, and I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, you have the choice to do better. You have the choice. Okay, so I'm sorry you got your feelings hurt by this kid, but you have the choice to not let it affect you. So that's just kind of like, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about just making better choices for you, for your kids, and teaching everybody else to make their own choices.
Exactly. When we can acknowledge that we're not powerless, that we're not victims, but we have the choice to be victors. And one of the best,
Yes.
Have you ever read the book, The Oz Principle?
I have not.
Put on your list for
Okay.
sure. And so what the Oz Principle talks about is being above the line and below the line. And when we're below the line, we get into victim mentality. Oh, hi, honey. I love it. Natasha's daughter is if you guys are just listening to this, she's so beautiful. Hello.
Say
How
hi.
are you?
Hi.
Your mommy's famous today. She has all kinds of
Wanna
people
see what
listening
she's
to her.
saying?
She's inspiring lots of people. Oh.
Can't put the headphone in.
I
Can
love
you
it.
hear her?
Yeah.
Hi, honey. Your mommy is inspiring so many people. She's so famous today.
Wow.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's amazing. And so, yeah, so definitely check that book out because it talks about the power of our choices and how we can rise above them to literally get what we desire by having that personal accountability. And one last thing is I want you to have a question to ask, have the audience think about that's going to help move them from where they are to where they want to be. So what would you like people to think about, reflect on? What kind of question would you ask them to think about?
I mean,
I don't know.
I just probably just I feel like a lot of things that when I'm trying to decide what choice I'm gonna make or what decision I'm gonna make, I ask myself, why not? Like instead of asking myself why, I ask myself why not? Because chances are I don't really have a better reason to not do it. So
I have goosebumps. I love that. I love that so much. Thank you so much, Natasha. And thank you, sweetheart, for sharing your mommy for a little bit with me. And I'm so grateful. So thank you so much. And you guys, we will definitely put all of the ways that you can connect with Natasha in the show notes so that if you want to follow her, if you want to connect with her, if you found that her story was inspirational, leave a review, leave her a message and let her know that she's inspiring you as much as she's inspiring me. So until next time, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm so grateful to be on this journey with you. And don't forget to check out the show notes if you want to get into my private club, the Better Club, to be able to learn better ways to be better, do better, and have better. So until next time, keep showing up. Let's get unstuck together. Have a great day.